Today we have Yosef Lee. I'm really excited about this. Met Yosef, I don't know, has it been 2 years maybe? I think maybe 2.5 years ago. And he's one of those people that you just watch as a rocket take off. And it's just been amazing to watch his journey, watch him blow up on Facebook, getting on podcasts, and just like embracing the whole multifamily space. That's all he's about. And I've just really enjoyed watching his journey. And so he's here to talk about like the cycle, what we're all here for, the cash out refinance. I'm really excited to hear what he's got to share, the stuff that he's kind of gained along the way. So Yosef, take it away.
Thank you, Valerie. I think, yeah, it's more than 2 years ago we started talking. And also, I watched how you grew and how you rocked the stage. So it's been pleasure knowing you and your family. And thank you for the opportunity today to share my part of my journey with you guys. So I'm very excited. Am I allowed to share my screen?
Yep, go for it. I
Okay.
made you co-host.
All right, so there you go. Where's my slide? There you go. I prepared some slides to make it easy for you guys to follow. And again, this is nothing to brag about or anything, just just to give you the idea of who I am and what I've been through and how kind of thing. So my name is Yosef. I'm from New York. I'm still full-time litigation attorney, and my journey has been always juggling around my full-time job and my family and this real estate nights and weekends. And so far, I'm enjoying it a lot and have been meeting a lot of amazing people, including Valerie's and many of you guys. Uh, as to the real estate journey, it's all multifamily so far. And starting from my first deal in 2020, which was 44 units. In 2021, I did a couple of syndications with Sharpline and MIH team. 2022, I did more. And at the end of 2022, did a couple of JV deals. Um, I have my JV partner here too, Vlad. He's in my 40 unit deal together. And in 2023, we did one deal earlier this year with Sharpline team. The 2023 has been a year for the operation and stabilizing and repositioning the properties as opposed to acquisitions. So as you can see, the journey for the first 2 years has been about acquisitions, and now it's about repositioning and stabilization of the team, building up the teams. So mainly I work with Sharpline team for syndications, for JV deals. I have HSI Equity. It's not a firm name that we decided to use, but it's a combination of three companies with my main partners. And as far as my roles been going, as I'm an attorney, I did legal due diligence, also streamlining communications in between all the attorneys, sellers, buyers, and SEC attorneys or the lenders attorneys. I'll try to make the communication easier for my team, being the communication channel. And then helping out with asset management, investor relationships, and some capital raisings. So that's me. I have two daughters and uh, who are thinking that they're already adults, but and that's what I deal with. All right, and next. The apartment that I want to introduce you today, it's called Crescent Heights. That's the very first one that I closed in 2020. This is the picture that we took. It was right before acquisition. I think there was like, as you can see, still some cracks on the pavement and parking lots, and this is before acquisitions. And this is a part of another picture. All right, this is like a bird's eye view from Google Map. We have four main buildings, two up here and like an L-shaped buildings to that one. All right, deal highlights. Location, it's in Lawrence, Kansas, 1963 vintage, 44 units, all same two beds and one bath. And the deal came to us through, as you may know, Joe Sullivan is one of my partners, boots on the ground. His friend who knew the seller, he connected us with the seller. Seller wanted to, I believe, I recall he wanted to go bigger, like getting rid of these properties and scale up. So he wanted to sell this as quickly as possible. The only condition, I think he liked our team. So the only condition he was requiring was to get this deal closed within 2020. So we said no problem, we'll do it. And he was a true mom and pop owner. For example, when Joe requested the due diligence documents, he gave us a box of documents, not even PDF. It was literally the paper documents, and Joe had to just scan every documents for us, other partners. Initially, seller was asking $2 million, and we started negotiating, and we came to the point of a mutual agreement, 1.8, $25 million. So that was the striking purchase price. We submitted LOI, which was accepted in September 2020, and we got it on the contract in October. All right, next. So the average property, the rent was about $150 to $200 lower than the surrounding apartments. Our apartment, the average rent for 44 unit was $510. And just anywhere else around our properties is all 650, 700, 790-ish. So we were kind of confident that we could raise about at least $100 to $150 without getting much pushback. And within our underwriting, we had a $50 rent bump each year. Also, some of our units, the new tenants was already paying like $600+. So, we were kind of confident. And at the time, it was 90% economic occupancy and physical occupancy. And as far as loan goes, we did 80% loan to cost with the local community bank that Joe has a connection with. Believe the son of the owner went to the same college with Joe, so we were able to deal with easier with them. And we got 4% interest rate, 25 M, 18 months of interest only period. And around that time, because of COVID, they had this reserve requirement for tax and insurance, right? So we did that. And we have budgeted about $250 for interior and exterior rehab. This is just at the time, our projection. So year one, we had about underwriting. We have about 13% cash return without adding anything. It was literally cash flowing from the day one. So, and 10-year IRR was about 22%, 10-year average cash 59.8%, and under the scenario of refining it in year 2 or 3. All right. Some of the inspections we found, this is C-class properties. Obviously, there are a lot of different maintenances, and the owner has been owning this forever. So I think didn't have any loan on it. So it was just cash flowing for him. So he didn't really have to put a lot of efforts to renovate or reposition properties, right? So he would just let the tenants leave there a couple of years without even raising the rent. So I remember some of the tenants were there for like decades, but he couldn't care less because it's cash flowing. Inspection revealed some issues with the plumbings, mold and mildew, and termites. So we requested seller to take care of it or give us credit. He agreed to take care of that. So before closing, he, fixed everything that we found the issues with. But for roof and HVAC, which was really, really old, he said he would just rather give us the credit instead of going through the repair process or upgrade the process before closing. So he was like, how much you want for credit? We didn't know how much. So we just threw the numbers like 100,000. It was like, okay. We got $100,000. And we fixed all the roofs and HVAC system. I think we netted the net repair operating expenses was about 70,000. So we got about $30,000 net from this $100,000 credit. Later on, we realized a couple of months down the road. All right, we had a goal. Some of the asset management goals we had. Well, at the time we inherited the prior owner's property management company. They were nice, super nice people. But I was reviewing the property management company agreement contract, and I realized there was a clause where they say the property management company could fire the owner or break the contract for any reason, including no reason. Whereas if the owner wants to get out of the contract, we have to pay for penalties and all that. So it's not on the equal footage. So I had to change the wording, giving the same power for the owners as well. So one of the things that I recommend, go through the property management company agreement like closely, take a closer look, because there must be some clause that's heavily favoring the property management company only, right? So that's one thing I realized. Rent, as I said, we projected $50 rent bump every year on underwriting, but as I said, based on the comms, we were confident that we can raise a lot more than that. So we kind of tested the markets with 3 units. So one, doing nothing, we just tried to raise $56. There was no pushback from the tenant, so we just added 60 bumps, doing like literally nothing, not even turn. She just signed a new lease. Another with new flooring and painting, nothing heavy lifting. First floor for $300, second floor for $200 rent bump ish, which we were able to achieve, right? And so after testing the markets, we were even more convinced that this is more doable, right? And another goal we had was converting the month-to-month lease to yearly lease. We had over 50% month-to-month tenants. So that was another asset management goals that we had. And in about 1.5 to 2 years, as we put it on in our underwriting, we wanted a cash out refi into agency loan. So that was part of our management goal. Lastly, and then keep it for generational cash flow after cash out refi. That was mainly our goal, and that's everyone's goal, right? Okay, so for the first 6 months after acquisition, we did not take any distribution. So we closed this deal in December 2020. So up to June 2021, no one got anything. It was just constantly we let it cash flow, and then we just use the cash flow to build a reserve, because we wanted to build a lot of reserve because C-class properties, and we knew that there is going to be a problem with this property as we go. So we wanted to build enough reserve. And so for the 6 months, we were able to build 6-figure reserve purely from the cash flow, like low 6-figure. So like, 100,000 plus little. And then after 6 months, after hitting the $100,000 reserve, we started distributing 8% cash and cash return. Right. And then from that point on, it's been constant 8% cash and cash return. And then by the end of 2021, realizing that we have a little more to distribute, we matched 10%. We distribute more, so that yearly cash and cash return was 10% in the end, as opposed to 8%. So 8% consistently, and then because the bonus distribution, overall the yearly cash and cash return annualized became 10%. Right, and then around February. So this 17-month mark is when we did cash out refi. So by then, the 59% month to month ratio became 5% month to month. So within that time frame, we were able to turn a lot of month to month tenants into a yearly lease tenants. And by then, we spent about $220,000 for improving the properties as capex, and our average rent from $510 jumped to $650. So it's $140 rent bump in average within the first 17 months after acquisition, right? There were some delinquent tenants. We had a couple of Section 8 tenants. It's a government voucher. So it's fluctuating, right? Because for a couple months, we're not getting anything. But then after 3, 6 months, we get the rent collection at once. And we had like 2, 3 tenants evicted. I was just surprised, like, because we were able to evict within the 2 months, which is just to me unheard of in New York City. So I was like, wow, okay. Now, why do we care about the NOI going up $140 in average per month and see what it does to the property valuation, right? We all know forced depreciation. That's how we force the appreciation of this multifamily properties. $140 times 44 unit per month, right? Times 12 months. So forcefully we raise the NOI by just purely pushing the rents up without accounting the expenses. It's approximately $73,000 rent raised for a year. And if we apply the cap rate 0.07, it's an addition of 1 million, about $1 million valuation to the property. If we apply 0.08% cap rate, which was this area is about 7 or 8 when we acquired the property, it's $900,000 additional value added to the property, which is great. Right, so we started doing our cash out refi process. So we contacted different agencies and we ended up going with a CBRE and Freddie Mac. Process started in February 2022 to lock in the rate. It came out to be right before the interest rate hike. Like we were lucky to be able to lock this rate in. And lender appraisal came out and March 3rd, 2022, I still remember because I put it down here. We thought this area 7 or 8% cap rate. They actually applied 5.75 cap rate saying this is gentrifying area. So the valuation came to us as $3.4 million. Remember, we bought this property 1.825, but we got $100,000 credit, so it was 1.725. Now, 17 months later, it came back as $3.4 million valuation, almost doubled in 17 months. So with Freddie Mac, with this 75% loan to value, 12 months IO, and then rate, we actually got a little better rate than 4%, which was previous, 3.97. So after the cash out refi, the proceeds, after paying out the old debt, it was a little over than the original capital that we put in. So we were able to do 100% cash out refinance and some bonus together. And we have built 6-figure reserve from the cash flow. And now this is still cash flowing. So it's an infinite return. A few things I learned. Okay, so education, I think I'll always emphasize right education, which is critical. But to get the right education, you need to be guided by people who are more experienced than you are because this is a team play. And when you start, and I know many of you are in our MIH mastermind, Jake and Gino, and maybe part of another mastermind. Without this mentorship group, I'll say I would never be able to come this far and be able to do this. And all the partners that I met through this group, Jake and Gino, MIH mastermind. And so that's right education right there, and learning from the people who are really experienced, right? Mentorship programs and right partners. You need to surround yourself with highly motivated, like-minded people. We always say this, it can't be more than true. Stay away from people who drain your energy and positivity. Absolutely. Even my close friends were one of those people draining my energy out. It's like, oh, what, how do you know if this guy that you never met? Oh, by the way, what's crazy about this deal? When we closed this deal, has 6 partners, 5 partners, including myself, 6. Never met any of them in person. And I was like, how crazy is this? We're you know working on this $1 million deals and would never seen each other. It was always Zoom calls, and obviously because it was during the pandemic. But I'll say, I think this was possible because it was also during the pandemic. Everybody was taking this Zoom call more seriously than probably before pandemic. So networking with right people is always the key. You need to work with those people whose work ethic and philosophy are aligned with you, right? And lastly, action taking. I just can't emphasize this enough. Education, I always call it ENA, right? Education, networking, and actions. You got to do it. You got to meet people. You got to underwrite the deals. Knowing how to underwrite the deals is different from actually underwriting the deals. Knowing how to talk to the brokers and how to talk to the lenders and having the script is different from literally dialing the phone call, picking the phone call up and then literally talking to the brokers and lenders. That's what differentiates actions and not just not taking the actions and taking the actions. Because we fall in this pitfall of feeling like you're really busy doing things when you do education because you're reading, consuming the material from the education contents from online. You're reading books, you're watching YouTube channels, thinking that you're taking a lot of actions because you feel like you're doing things, but it's not really an action that I mean here, taking the action. You need to apply that, and there must be an execution of those things that you learned to apply to the real life things, right? You need to meet people, like attend this type of meetups, and just literally, that's the real action. That's the execution part, right? And fall in love with the process. It's a long process, so enjoy it and be persistent and patient. Finally, you will see the result. If I show to this point, if I show people what I have been able to achieve and the unit numbers and things like that, which I really don't think that is critical, other than just setting a goal of how many units I want to achieve, right? That helps, but other than that, it's also I know about how much equity you own in deals, not just the door number. So that's like half of what you have to concentrate. They say, "Oh, Yosef, you're able to get into the deals, this many deals within like 2-3 years." Yes, but they just look at that, and I tell them, but to be able to do my first deal, for me, it took 10 months to do that very first deal. Even after joining the Jake and Gino in February 2020, right before pandemic shutdown, that's when I joined Jake and Gino. Joining this amazing group, Jake and Gino, and joining this amazing group, MIH Mastermind. And because the pandemic, I didn't have to work my full-time job. I had a lot of time to spend on education, networking. I did 200 plus calls in 2020, by the way, like one-on-one Zoom calls. Even education, networking, I tried taking a lot of actions like then starting my virtual meetup with my partner Nico. Even then took me 10 months to do my first deal, right? Why I'm telling you this? I understand some people are just saying, oh, I'm not getting much from this mentorship groups or doing my networking. I try my taking the actions, I do education, but nothing good is happening. I understand, but that's what it is. Like nothing's guaranteed. What we can do, there are a lot of things that are not under our control. So what's our job? Our job is to go all in and do what's under our control. And then if you're a believer, you pray And if you're not, then just wait and being positive about it and just keep taking the actions. Do what you gotta be doing. Keep networking, keep educating, keep learning, and keep just taking actions because in the end, it will happen. It's just a matter of time. And that's what I want to emphasize. As I met so many people that they say nothing is happening. And I was feeling the same thing when I was going through that 10 months, even after paying $1,000 to this mentorship groups. And even joined, I did concurrently both Jake and Gino at MIH concurrently because I joined MIH like May of 2020. So it was like 3 months later, I joined MIH and it's like I did concurrently 2 years of Jake and Gino, 1 year of MIH. But still, the first 10 months, the deal didn't come to me. All right. Oh, sorry. Before this. Again, that's why I want to emphasize it would happen. Just it's a matter of time. Keep doing it because if you stop doing it at one point, I can tell it might be right before closing your first deal, like a month later. So don't give up. Just try to enjoy the process, right? Okay, I wanna this a few not so rosy things occurred and learned. Up to this point, I was telling you about how we were able to raise the average rent, forced appreciation, cash out refi, 100% distributed back, and we own this infinite return. That was all rosy stuff. Now, a few not so rosy things. And I learned insurance claim. We had a pipe burst from unoccupied unit during the winter because our property management company had not turned on the heat, at least to the minimum level for that to maintain the unit in a good condition. So freezing cold, pipe burst, water damage, it sucked into the flow and it went down to the below units, damaging the below unit as well. We had to move the tenant out in the hotel and all that. That happened, same unit twice, right? So and not knowing much about this multifamily insurance, we made 2 claims around the same time, right? And guess what? Because of the 2 claims, not too long after acquiring this property, the insurance premium just skyrocketed. And we were trying to get another insurance company carriers. They all refused to take us in. So we had to just, bite our tongue and had to just renew our premium with this really expensive premium now. So things learned. If it's not a huge bill, the claim came out to be each claim like 15,000, like $20,000. If it's not a huge bill, like 6 figure, or I think maybe I don't know 70,000, 80,000, whatever it is, don't make the claim. Just from the cash flow, from the reserve, just fix it, right? I think that's what we learned, at least among our teams. That's how we feel now. Property management change has been taking place last December. And our current property management company inherited a lot of mess. So having the right property management team in place is the key. So now we have 10 vacant units, right? We've been always over like 90%, but now we have 10 vacant units and then but 7 pre-leased, so it's coming in. But there has been a moment where like 10 as vacant at once, and then we're turning the 3 units, 2 light turns and 1 heavy turns. But the point I want to make is if you build enough reserve, uh, you know, we can sustain this period of having many turns or having like this massive number of vacant units, right? So I want to emphasize building the reserve. So for this is like my norm now. All the deals that I am in charge of, like asset management, I try to build 6 months of operating expenses reserve from the underwriting. You will know, like under your so first of all, underwriting is That's why it's important, because you need to base your underwriting to build this reserve. 6 months of operating reserve, 6 months of insurance reserve, 6 months worth of tax reserve before starting the distribution. Once you build, so there's two ways. Like one, you can raise more, right, from people and cover the capex, or you can raise less, but instead you can discuss among your investors or partners that let's build a reserve from cash flow, or let's not, raise more so that we can get more equity with the money going in. Um, because as you raise more, bring in more investors, your equity is diluted little by little. So that's up to you, but there are two ways. And if you do loan to cost, that's another way to kind of have like a fallback of capex budget too. So utilize all this method, and but make sure you have enough reserve built up in the reserve account. And as we start distribution, uh, still we'll continue to build a capex and tax reserve every month, just transferring some money into the reserve accounts from cash flow. And another thing I wanted to mention is controlling the spending, controlling the operating account. Many property management companies, including our first property manager, they they utilize their own operating account, and then after a month, they just send us the entire itemized stuff that they have paid out through the operating account, and then try to get it reimbursed. What does it tell you? You don't know what's being spent until a month later, and then they give us the full accounting of what's been done prior month. So what I do now, well, obviously this has to be agreed upon with the property management company, and our property management company, very professional, very nice. He agreed upon this. That's why we could work together. I create our own operating account for each property, and we give access to the property manager. So they have to use our operating account so that whenever I feel like going in, I know what's going on, because they would have to go through our operating account to buy something. So I issue the debit card, I order the check, I order the check deposit machine, all sent to the property management company office, so that whenever he wants to spend the operating expenses, you got to go through the debit card, the check. If you want to deposit the money, he's gonna use the check deposit machine from our bank. All right, so you will know the ins and outs of everything in the operating accounts. I create additional three more accounts to make that accounting process smoother, or distribution process smoother. I create one, the operating account, two, owner distribution account, three, reserve account, four, security deposit account. So operating account is for, just the money, OpEx. And then I move every month, I do monthly sweep. So you got to talk to your property manager based on their experience. How much do you think will be the good baseline operating cushion for you to run for the following month, right? And let's say, oh, $10,000. Okay. So what I do is I'll leave $10,000, and I'll leave the mortgage amount, and I'll leave maybe the insurance monthly deduction. And then the rest I'll move at the end of each month to our owner distribution account. So owner distribution account is like nerve center to me. And from the owner distribution account, I transfer out to reserve to build a reserve. And our property management company also has an access to a security deposit account, because whenever they get security deposit, or they have to reimburse the security deposit to the tenant who we're leaving, he has to give or take. So property management company has an access to operating account and security deposit account only. And as an owner, I have I use this 4 different accounts to build a reserve. And when I need to distribute the fund to the partners, investors. I use the owner distribution account to distribute. I don't know how others do, but this is how I do. I learned this from, I think, I forgot somebody that I learned from a podcast. But this I found having 4 accounts will at least give me the freedom of moving the fund around and being able to kind of organize things for myself, for my team. All right, I usually show this picture. These are my partners for this first deal. Mercy is wife Handra, Margot, me, and Joe Sullivan is boots in the ground. The reason why I'm showing this picture is I'm forever grateful with these guys and gal, and I just want to emphasize how important it is to form the right team. With this team, we did one syndication together. Last couple of months, we did 3 deals together, September, November, and December 2022, 20 units, 43 units, and 40 units, OJV. The 40 units of Vlad is as another partner. And Vlad was the one who started the lead of that property they acquired, and that's why he was invited to the deal too. And Vlad has been amazing and helping out with asset management and all got together. So thank you very much, Vlad. And that is the end of the slide, and I'm gonna stop sharing. And that's the story. Oh, and Dimitri is in our 43 unit deal and also been amazing and helping out with asset management and doing calls together. And yes, this is it. This is the end of my story. Thank you very much for listening to my story. And if you have any questions or open book here. Thank you.
Well, thanks, Yosef. That's fantastic. And yeah, if anybody has questions, feel free to turn on your mic and let's talk some more. Yosef's made himself available. He's had a lot of experience. Let's, if you got questions, feel free.
Hey, Yosef, it's Steve. How you doing? Great presentation.
Hey, Steve, my man. Thank you. Thank you.
Quick question. How did you handle taxes? Like, I may have missed it, but like, how did you handle like taking out taxes ahead of filing taxes? I'm assuming you did it either monthly or at some lump sum, but how did you handle the taxes from the income?
Property tax, right?
No, like taxes you would have to pay on the income. Do you have to manage like taking out some taxes on the income side before filing taxes?
Oh, you mean individual taxes or?
Correct.
Right.
Or
Okay.
I didn't know if you did it at the asset level as well.
No, we don't. So when I said saving, putting the tax reserve, I meant property tax.
Mm-hmm.
So property tax, usually the county or the city municipality, they don't charge monthly tax. They calculate yearly tax, and then either they charge yearly or pay semi annually. So you'll pay they'll calculate yearly tax, and then you'll pay 6 month worth of tax after. So let's say, for example, 2022 property tax let's say the half of property tax you will pay the first 6 months by the end of that year, and then the latter 6 months the following year, you're probably going to pay at once 6 months. So when I say build a reserve, 6 months, at least a 6 month tax, you gotta calculate the tax amount. I'm not an expert in this, but usually my partner Mercy does. There's a mill rate, and if you go to county website, they usually put the formula of how to calculate the tax, property taxes, in approximation. It's not always correct. So you gotta assume how much tax you're gonna be taxed, and with a list build is about 6 months of monthly amount. When I said 6 months, so that you could have that in the reserve. And then each month, let's say if the yearly tax is, let's say $12,000, then monthly it's $1,000, right? So each month, as I sweep as I do the monthly SWIFT from the operating account to owner distribution account, I will move $1,000 to reserve account to build a tax reserve for the next 6 months, right? Every month I'll put $1,000. So when the tax payment due comes, it's a $6,000 bill because yearly is 12,000, right? Then I use that money that I was building in the reserve account to pay that off that tax. But on the accounting side, on the bookkeeping, we will just mark $1,000 monthly payment of tax payment, although it's a six-month payment at once, right? Just to make to do accrual accounting. So if you do cash accounting, you will see the tax payment every 6 months. But if you turn that into accrual accounting, you can kind of organize in a way that you will show every month you've been paying $1,000 tax. So it depends on how you prefer the bookkeeping goes. We do both just to see how things are moving, how we pay property taxes. But if you also were asking about like income taxes,
Yeah.
from the, you've been just all the money that come in as a rental income or other incomes like parking or garage income or pet income will be accounted as a gross income, right? And then your bookkeeper will know how much amount was the total rental income through. You would have T12 basically. You will give it to or bookkeeper, and they will know how much income was generated in 2022. What they will do is, this deal was JV. What they will do is they will issue the K1 based on the percentage of the ownership of this property for each investor. So let's say Steve, you and me and Valerie, Valerie owns 50%, Steve, you and I own 25% of this property, and then Valerie will be accounted with 50% of the entire income generated in 2022 on her K1, and you and me 25% of on our K1 would have 25% of income that came to us. And then based on that percentage of ownership, also if you did a cost segregation study, that depreciation loss amount will come to Valerie and me and you based on that ownership amount, interest amount. And on your K1, you would have income and loss, etc. And then based on that, if it's single member owned LLC by you, it will just fall through to your personal tax income tax. You're not going to have LLC tax. You would have what's called, I think, Schedule C on your personal tax return. But if you own this if you came in as an LLC with, let's say, another friend of yours, and that 25% is owned by 50% by you, 50% by your friend, then you would have LLC level of tax return again with that through that K1 that you received from this property, because your LLC is considered to be partnership. So you're going to have to file another tax return, your LLC level. Then you would have another K1, 50% of that, and your friend will have 50% of that. And then that K1 will fall upon your personal tax return. And then you will pay tax on your personal level.
Yep.
That makes sense?
Totally. Got it. I got it.
All right.
Yeah.
Sorry. Maybe it was more than what you asked for.
No, it's exactly right. You hit it right at the mark. Thank you.
All right. Any
Yeah, I have a question. When you are doing your 6 months reserves, was that accounted for during your underwriting as far as the cash on cash return back to your investors? Was that taken into account?
Sorry, can you repeat the question again?
So just wondering, when you were collecting reserves for 6 months, so
Oh, yeah.
you didn't do any distributions. So the
Mhm.
cash on cash that you projected to your investors, was that based on 6 months? Like say 6% cash?
No,
cash on
it was
cash?
not. It was just day one-ish. But then just as we were closing, we decided to build it more cash. At that time, we had a loan. This was loan to cost deal, so we had kind of line of credit from the bank, right? But given the vintage of the property, we were not comfortable just distributing from day one, so we decided to just see how it goes. We didn't. So basically, I think we didn't target to hit like 6-figure. We just wanted to see for the next like couple months, like how things are going, just to make sure we have like good cash flow. So we decided. I think we decided either 3 months or 6 months, and then as we go, it ended up just building that 6-figure.
Okay.
But that's how we decided after closing, as opposed to how we wrote it underwriting.
Okay. All right.
Thank you,
Yes,
Melvin.
I have a quick
Hey,
question.
Natalie.
If I got straight, so the property management team will have access to the CapEx reserve account and security deposit. And you have access to the owner distribution account, and what other, I'm missing one account. There's 4. So I got CapEx.
Okay. First of all, that was kind of flipped. So I'll do it again. So we have total 4. Okay, so this is a step. Sorry, it's kind of repeating what I said, so the recording might, it's kind of too long. But I'll do it for you, Natalie, because I
Oh,
love
thank
you,
you.
right? All right. So as soon as I close, as you're dealing with the lender, right? And then the lender is like, we're being ready to close, and they send us money. So on the day to close, one email I send to the bank is this: hey, Mr. or Mrs. So-and-so, we just closed. Thank you. Please open these 4 accounts: operating, reserve, owner distribution, security deposit. All right. I send an email to the bank. And then as an owner, and including my partners, I tell them, give access to these people, all the access to all 4 accounts. And this is my property manager. Give them the access to the operating account and security deposit account, because they have to manage the security deposit,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
I have an access, but I don't touch the security deposit account. I just leave it to our property manager.
Mhm.
Property manager will only use our operating account to pay the expenses, to collect the rent, and it will, if the property manager uses property management tool like Buildium or things like that, the programs, and sometimes they can collect the rent through that program. Then they would have to connect our operating account to that program, so that whenever there's a rent deposit through that program, that money falls through to our operating account, so that we as an owner to know how much money is coming in, how much money is going out.
Mhm.
But before, and I know many other property managers don't like that, because they want the control. They will try to tell you that we want to use our own account because they have it. And then what they will do is later they bill us the entire thing so that they can get it reimbursed a month later, which is fine. A lot of people do that too, and they're okay. I was okay too, but I started noticing that way they're in control, and I wanted to just control them because I'm a control freak.
Mhm.
So I think it depends on you. If you really like this property management company, but this is one thing that they're pushing back, then I guess what choice you have, right? But if they're okay with using your operating account, then I'll prefer that way.
Yeah. Thank you, Yosef. Thanks for.
Thank you.
Hi, Yosef. Sushante.
Hey, Chante.
I wanted to go into the cash out refi a little bit more.
Mhm.
The goal when you have investors is to try to get them back their investment as soon as you can. And once you get to the cash out refi, you may or may not get to that 100% return of investment, but you're still keeping that property for generational wealth or infinite returns. How then, after that first cash out refi, do you then try to get the investors back their full return of investment? And then, since it's a 1963 vintage, and you say it's going to be kept infinitely, how long is that? I mean, the property is very old and it's going to break down. I mean, how long would that be for you guys?
Well, that would be how long you want to hold on to. I mean, even knowing and experiencing that things are falling down. right? And so it's totally up to you. Like you want to keep it as much as possible, even the property always have a problem because you have great cash flow to cover that. Go for it. Why not? Because you're not actually fixing it. You have property manager, professional property manager manage it. You're not doing a single family duplex that you have to personally fix things for the tenants, right? So so that's your second part of the question being answered. The first part, you mentioned if the cash out refi does not yield 100% cash out refi, was that it?
It doesn't give the return of investment to the investors if that, they didn't still achieve that goal of the return.
Right. First of all, you want to partner up with those whose investment philosophy is aligned with you, right? You don't want to partner with somebody when you want to keep this for generational wealth, a partner who wants to sell this in 5 years. So first of all, that's why you need to form the right partnership, because you gotta be on the same page as far as the property disposition timeline goes, right? We don't want to dispose. Like if we just want to keep it as generational wealth, and so do all my partners. So even if you don't get that full, so cash out refi is not the goal. Cash out refi, I'll say this way. Cash out refi is what's happening to get to generational wealth in a way as a necessity step, but it shouldn't be. It's not the end goal, right? What I mean by that is, even if let's say you did first cash out refi, you were able to only take out 50% of your cash, so the cash and cash return will jump up eventually as time passes by, as our tenants are building up the equity for you, paying off the debt. And as you go, your equity amount goes up in the deal. And as your equity amount goes up in the deal, your NOI goes up, and you're going towards the opportunity for the second cash out refi a few years down the road. And if your goal is to hold this property indefinitely, then just waiting for a few years, just collecting the cash flow, cash and cash return. And then when the time is ready again, you took second cash out refi. And then you take the rest 50% out. Now it's infinite cash and cash return. But when you did the first cash out refi with the 50% money back, what do? Now you have another opportunity to create a similar structure and duplicate that again, right? So that's why cash out refi is still great, even though you're not going to be taking 100% out the first time, because you're creating another opportunity. And I want to add this because a lot of people complain this without fully understanding the benefit of the cash out refi, and I hear this a lot. When you do cash out refi once, let's say you took 50% out. Now let's say initially you had $50,000. After the first cash out refi, now you only have $25,000 in. But that doesn't mean that your cash and cash return will double right away. Actually, your cash and cash return amount goes down, because now that 8% will be applied to your new basis of $25,000 as opposed to $50,000. Okay, some people think that, because I took out my half, now my and still own the same ownership interest, my cash and cash return will double or something like that. It will go up, but it doesn't happen that way instantly right away. You can structure it that way, and my first deal we structured it that way, but usually cash and cash return will go down, and people complain like, what's the point of cash out refi then, when our goal is to create the passive income stream? And when you do cash out refi, your passive income amount goes down, which happens because now you have a lot higher debts and things like that. But it is true if you just look at this current moment. But if you apply like 3-year horizon, 5-year horizon, 10-year horizon, with with the goal of owning this property indefinitely, your equity amount is always going up because the tenants are paying for your debt. And as your equity goes up, your cash flow amount is growing over the long horizon. And again, and that you will use that $25,000 to duplicate another system, right? It's either syndication or another passive income stream. And then it goes together. So cash out refi is a great way to very slowly grow your equity in deals.
Thank you, Yosef. And that's what you said with the second cash out refi. I was just actually wondering if you could do that. And so that actually answered my question perfectly. Thank you so much.
For sure. You can do even 3 times or 4 times as long as you have enough equity in the deal. That's what matters. Cash out refi is all about building the equity in the deal because you're taking the equity out. And you want to take the equity out in a way that's benefiting to everybody at a given moment. That's why we wait until we can take out certain percentage. We don't want to do cash out refi just for 10%, 20% equity out. At least 50% is probably 40, 50, 60% is what I think it's a good opportunity to cash out refi because that's when you can have a 50% is good amount because there's a momentum when you take out. You can spend that again to another in another property, another deal. And then after that, you build the equity. You build the equity by raising the rent, having the tenants paying for the rent, paying for the debt, and also lowering the expenses, right? So that's how we grow the NOI. As you grow the NOI, it will push your valuation. As the valuation gets pushed up, that's how the equity grows in the deal. And you're being ready for the second refi.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate that, Yosef.
You're welcome.
Yosef, I think there's one question in the chat about how payroll and insurance are paid from which bucket.
Oh, hold on. All right, payroll and insurance paid from which bucket? Okay. Payroll is operating expenses. So the property management company will directly charge their leasing agent or property manager, on-site managers from the operating account. So you will see in the operating account that they're charging the payrolls. Insurance, when you deal with the insurance company, what I usually do is I let them set up the automatic payment through operating accounts. So each month, they will take out the insurance premium every month, and you will see in the operating account. So all these activities are part of operating expenses, right? So you're not going to touch other accounts, but only the operating account. And just to add, security deposit accounts, it's just for security deposits, so nothing more than that. You don't want to touch that account. It's just the money will be going in and out for the security deposit. Reserve is just for the reserve, as it says. CapEx reserve, insurance reserve, tax reserve, and all of that. So, for example, let's say we're really short on cash flow now. So this month, I don't have enough. So for some reason, some unexpected CapEx happened. So we had to use the cash flow to just repair that. So now I know the insurance company will take out their insurance premium for this specific month. I don't have enough money in my operating account. What do? I'll tap my reserve account and then move that like 1 month of, let's say, the premium, insurance premium. I'll transfer that money into operating account so that it has enough fund in it when the insurance company will do the automatic payment deduction. Right? And so another scenario, let's say, we tell our property manager, if you have to spend more than a certain amount as OPEX or whatever, CapEx, And if there is not going to be enough fund in a deal, let me know so that I can move the funds ahead so that you could have enough fund in the operating account, right? Because like I said before, diligently I'll move the money out of the operating account, except leaving what's necessary for them. That's why initially we decided, well, I think this unit numbers, this type of vintage properties, I think based on my experience, I think $10,000 will be a good cushion to run because we will build operating fund through collection of money anyway in a given month. So that's like a basic cushion. But for some reason, if that's not enough, then they're gonna have to let me know so that I know I'll move, let's say, another $5,000 from owner distribution account to operating account or reserve account to operating account.
Thanks, Yusuf. I have one more question, Yusuf. So,
Mhm.
how are you matching with the underwriting? If are we still in pace with the underwriting that we wrote or not?
How do you match the underwriting? Sorry, I missed the question.
With the expenses.
Mhm. Oh, the
When
underwriting.
yeah.
Okay, well, so first of all, you would have the T12, and the T12 will be transferred to your underwriting, right? So basically, we could only expect this will be the expenses that we're gonna spend, and so we should assume at least that's how much we're gonna have to spend. But as we manage the assets, our goal is always to try to reduce the expenses. So we have to keep a certain amount based on the how this property has been performing, and we got to use that number in the beginning. And obviously, that's why you want to build a reserve so that we could have the cushion of if something unexpected happens, so that we could cover.
But what will you do if the difference is lot than what you underwrote?
So like, can you give me an example? So
So
this property has been spending $10,000 expenses traditionally, so kind of consistently. And then you mean
okay,
something like unexpected pipe
something.
burst type of thing,
Yes.
like that?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, so that's why we want to not only to build the reserve. Building the reserve is that starts from the closing, right? But we also raise. So underwriting, we have expected capex project amount, right? For example, this property we had a $250,000, and as we raise, we also raised a portion of the capex as well, right? So if that kind of unexpected incident happens, we're gonna probably tap in that capex reserve that's already raised as a part of the process as like emergency fund, right? And
Oh,
then soon as we pay for that, we send the bill to the lender so that we can get it reimbursed because we have certain line of credit through the deal being LOC, right? LTC, I mean.
mm. Okay. Okay, thanks.
Okay, all right.
All right. Well, hey, we're at the top of the hour. Yosef, I really appreciate it. Great value. A lot of good information here. If people want to stay on, they're welcome to, but if they got to go, I understand. But real quick, let's grab a picture if we can. I don't know if anybody, if you want in the picture, you can turn your camera on and I'll snap one. Give everybody a second. All right, ready? 1, 2, 3. Perfect. All right. Thanks so much, everybody. Thanks again, Yosef. We really appreciate your time.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Valerie, again for the opportunity. Thank you.